Scrap metal dealer Jack Smith and a boy whom he calls Leo Trotsky are jointly charged with stealing copper from another scrap dealer, Ernest Richards, and with assault upon his wife Irene. It's not been possible for the prosecution to establish the boy's age with any certainty, and the defence contend that he is under 10 and therefore cannot be convicted of any crime. The last day of the trial has just begun, and Smith has just been called to give his long-awaited evidence about, amongst other things, the age of the boy Leo Trotsky.
Now, Mr. Smith, it is your turn to talk and to tell us what you want.
Much obliged, Your Worship. Now, I hope these here ladies and gentlemen understand that it is not my fault they have been kept in suspense.
I am sure that they understand that very well, Mr. Smith.
Members of the jury, what you all want to know is how I come by the boy.
No, Mr. Smith. You must let Mr. Parsons take you through your evidence.
Yeah, but you, sir, I could say all that.
Subject to the rules of criminal procedure.
Oh.
Very well, Mr. Parsons.
Well, Mr. Smith, I think you've started in the right place. If you tell my lord and the jury how you came by the boy, as you put it.
Yes. Members of the jury, imagine a dark and stormy night in the middle of the winter.
Which winter?
Well, I'm coming to that, Your Worship. Well, I'm driving along, and it is raining so hard, it's like being in a boat with the water pouring all over, when I sees this bit of crumpet thumbing. Now, you know, things in the dark don't look the same. But I says to myself now, here is a likely-looking bit of crumpet in distress.
So you stopped?
Yes. But I knew straight away I made a bleeding mistake. She can't get up in the truck, so I goes round, and I sees right away it's not a likely-looking bit of crumpet at all, but a bleeding old boot if ever there was one. So I thinks, right, I'll get back in the truck and scarp her, and then I thought, well, it's bleeding midnight, it's bleeding rain, and she's bleeding miles away from nowhere, so I gives her the hump up in the truck, and away we goes.
Are we to understand that this lady was the boy's mother?
Incredible but true, Your Worship. There is no two creatures more different than this young lad and that old lump. Now, where was I?
Well, you were just telling us, Mr. Smith, that you were giving this lady a lift.
Oh, yes. Well, we're driving along and talking a bit, and I finds pretty quick I've been lumbered. It's 19 years old, left home in Glasgow when it's 16, got no money, been living with a bloke what kicked it out when she got pregnant, and there she is all moaning and wet through. So I pulls up, goes round the back, because I've got a bottle of whiskey round there, and I thought, well, I'll give her a shot at that now, that might liven her up. But when I got back round, she's all slumped.
Mr. Smith, what was this woman's name?
Mary.
Mary what?
I don't know, Your Worship, she didn't say.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Go on.
Yes. Well, well, she's all slumped over there, and I'm bending over her, and she puts her 2 hands round my throat and starts to throttle me. Well, I'm all ready to clobber her with the starting handle when she lets out a bleeding great scream and lets go. I says, blimey, here, she's having kittens.
What, you mean she was actually in labour?
Yes.
Well, did you then drive her back to where you were living in Shrippingham Common?
Yes.
And was your mother alive and living with you at that time?
Yes, she was in a caravan.
Yes. Now, did your mother deliver the child?
Oh, I does it. You see, my poor old mum, she's got the arthritis in her hands and she can't do much, but she tells me what to do and I does it.
Yes, I see. And when was this?
December the 28th, 5 o'clock in the morning, 1963.
So Leo won't be 10 until the end of December this year?
Exactly. And childs of 9 years old cannot be clobbered by the law. They're not responsible, see?
What happened to the mother?
Well, she scarpered the next day while I sat, Your Worship.
Leaving you and your mother to look after the boy?
Yes, I've had him ever since.
Yes. Now, Mr. Smith, I'd like you to tell the court about this copper. Now, it's right, is it not, that as Mr. Richards said, you did meet him at Jimmy Doby's scrapyard on the 11th of May?
Yes, that's right, we was there. Yeah, but Leo wasn't drinking no beer like he said.
Yes, quite. Now, did you ask Mr. Richards to supply you with a quantity of copper?
Well, he did bleed and supply, didn't he? After a bit of argy-bargy.
And what were the terms?
The terms was cash next week.
How much?
100 nicker.
Yes, and was anything said about collection or delivery?
Yes, he said I could pick it up that night, so long as I was nice and quiet.
Now, will you please tell us what happened that night?
Well, I says to Leo, now what about we go out tonight and pick up the copper? Leo said, OK, so off we went.
Yes, and what time did you set out?
11 o'clock about.
And what happened when you got there? I mean, to the Richards' place.
Yes, well, we started loading her up.
By her, you mean the lorry?
Yes, yes. Me and Leo seen this old cow shed when this bleeding brick come flying over and near knocks old Leo on the bonce. Yeah, and well, the next thing we know, there's Irene swinging at us with a bleeding crowbar.
What, you mean a usual size of crowbar, about 3 feet long?
Yes, bleeding lethal she was, cursing and swearing. Oh, I was ashamed to be there. Well, she takes the swing at me, I duck, she lets go, the bleeding bar goes whirling up, knocks an old car door what's hanging up right down onto poor old Leo. I'm trying to pick Leo up, thinking we're back in business again now she's let go the bar, when all of a sudden she lets go the old 1, 2, 3 right on me bleeding nose. And I goes down, and the next thing I know she's standing over me with a bleeding crowbar ready to brain me. And then she goes all limp and falls on top of me. And I says, blimey, I know it's not a bit of sex she's after. And I screws myself around and I looks up and I sees Leo with a mallet, and I know he's clocked her.
And that's the truth of the matter.
That's the bleeding truth, the old bleeding truth, and none of it's not the bleeding truth.
One last question. Is your mother still alive?
No, Governor. She passed away just 2 years ago.
Yes, I see. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Dealey?
No questions, my lord.
Mr. Golding?
My lord, in my cross-examination of this witness, I propose to take a certain course which I would not have been able to take had it not been for the manner in which Mr. Richards was cross-examined. However, before I begin, I feel it is only right to allow my learned friend, Mr. Parsons, the opportunity to object.
Yes, but it seems to me that you are entitled to take such a course. What do you say, Mr. Parsons?
My lord, I don't think I can oppose my learned friend in all the circumstances.
Very well, Mr. Golding.
Mr. Smith, this is not the first time that you've appeared in a criminal court or told lies on oath, is it?
I've been convicted, yes, but I ain't tell no lies.
Really? Well, I shall read out some excerpts from your record, and you just tell me if you think there are any errors in what I read. 1939, larceny of a bicycle, fine £10. 1939, larceny of a gas mask, a bottle of sherry and a hat, fine £10. 1940, larceny of 10,000 cigarettes, the property of the NAFI, discharged from the services and 2 years' imprisonment. 1948, common assault, conditional discharge. 1956, burglary, probation. 1957, assault occasioning actual bodily harm and breach of probation, 2 years. 1959, drunk in charge with 139 offences of indecent exposure taken into consideration. Probation on condition of psychiatric treatment. 1960, larceny of a motor car, 2 years. Now, that is all correct, isn't it?
No, you forgot my traffic offences. You know, I made the 12th, all the bad breaks in that.
Well, I wasn't going to mention your driving record. I think I've got quite enough material as it is, don't you? Now, on some of these occasions, let's take 1960, larceny of a motor car. You pleaded not guilty, did you not?
Yes.
And you went into the witness box, took the oath, and gave evidence denying your guilt.
Yes.
And the jury disbelieved you. They found you guilty. They found that you had lied.
Well, that's their bleeding fault, isn't it?
And juries disbelieved your evidence on oath in 1956 and 1957.
Look, I'm an honest man. And when I get nicked, if I don't, I owns up. Like them times when I pleaded not guilty, I wasn't bleeding guilty. It's no good them trying to blame me because the jury got it all wrong.
Oh, so you're the victim of a series of tragic mistakes, I see. But at any rate, you'll agree it is an appalling record.
Yeah, them indecent exposures, I didn't do none of them.
Then why on earth did you admit to them?
Well, Your Worship, when I got nicked that time, I knew the Roberts had a long list of unsolved crimes on their books. So I said, "Here, you got any unsolved crimes you want to get rid of?" And they said, "Yeah, here, have a look at them, all them indecent exposures." So I said, yeah, I'll say I did them. Yeah, I'm the fella. Here, and the Roberts, they was that grateful. You should have heard them telling the old magistrate I was the nicest Turk they ever seen.
Yes, I see. Oh, Mr. Golding.
Now, can we deal with the age of this boy?
Yeah, ready when you are, Gov.
Now, I gather with your vast experience of the law, Mr. Smith, that you know, and have no doubt known for years, that a child under 10 cannot be convicted of a crime.
That's right, Governor.
And for the same reason, you know how difficult it is to prove the age of this child.
I did not know that, Governor.
Oh, come now, Mr. Smith, of course you did. And now you're relying on the fact that you can get away with lying about his age to get him off.
Everything I told you is the honest truth.
Mr. Smith, a pregnant, anonymous hitchhiker who vanishes the moment her child is born. It's all too convenient. It's a downright lie, all of it.
Well, if she's not his mother, I don't know who is. It ain't me.
And then there's this story about how you purchased the copper from Richards on credit. Now, you and he are both scrap metal dealers. Do you ever give credit?
No, but he does.
Oh? Has he ever given you credit before?
No.
And why did you need credit? When you were arrested, you had enough funds on you to put your lawyer, to pay for your lawyer through this whole trial, did you not?
Yes, well, what's wrong with having a bit of cash?
Precisely. Then why ask Richards for credit?
Because I didn't have the cash on me at the time.
If what you're saying is true, Mr. Richards is telling lies. Mr. Richards is framing you. And yet you've never had any quarrel with him, have you? So why should he do that?
Yes, well, I've been thinking about this, and the way I see it is this. Irene's the one what wears the trousers. Now, he tries to do a bit of business on the side without her knowing. And when she sees us picking up the copper, he pretends he doesn't sell it.
You're saying Mr. Richards is frightened of his wife?
Well, I should bleeding well think so after what she nearly done to young Leo and me. Now, look, Governor, if you're in the scrap business and someone nicks something, you don't go running to the Roberts about it. It's much better just to bash him. So the fact that Richards went to the Roberts proves that I have not done it.
You'd bash someone who got in your way, would you?
Yes, if they nicked something.
Or if someone like Mrs. Richards surprised you when you were nicking something?
No, hey, that was self-defence, that was.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And are you trying to tell us that a small woman savagely attacked you with a 3-foot crowbar? Can't you think of anything that has the ring of truth?
Yeah, everything I told you about that woman is true.
The fact is, isn't it, Mr. Smith, that you've always lived by petty thieving and violence, and that is what you were doing on this occasion, and that is the example you have set that boy.
I've been a villain, yes. But ever since that boy come along, I've gone straight. You just look at my records you read out. It stopped when I came out of Dankworth in 1962. I've been criticised about what I've done for this boy or what I haven't done for this boy. He can't read, I know that. But I tried to learn him. But he just don't take kindly to books. But I brought him up strong and healthy, and he's real sharp so he can look after himself. And he knows a nice bit of scrap when he sees it too. There's much more to life than what you get out of books and what they try to push down your throat in schools. And he's not contaminated with television neither, because I don't let him watch it. Well, maybe I've been wrong. I don't know. But when this is over, I fixed to go down to Wales. Down to my sister's place. She's got a big house there, and she's got kids of her own. And there's a good school there. And Leo can have paid lessons until he catches up with the other kids. That's if I'm not convicted and young Leo is not put into care for something which neither of us has done.
No further questions.
No re-examination, my lord. That is my case.
You may go back to the dock now, Smith.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Mr. Golding, we haven't quite reached the stage of speeches yet. There is one material witness who has not been called, Mr. James Doby, who was present when Richards and Smith discussed the copper. I've had him brought to court, and I propose to call him myself.